Well, welcome to Dragonheart. Lots to talk about this week, as per usual. We've got a fixture change to talk about. We've got the women's game. We've got the Spennymoor game. We're going to chat about if we need any more signings urgently, and we've also got to plug our fantasy league, which we're going to be talking about even more detail later. So, how's things, Mark?
Yeah, not too bad. We're not really going to talk about Aaron Hayden, our new signing, even though he's a spectacularly good signing, because it happened so long ago. The only real thing I've got to say is that, well, two things. One is that everyone at the club seems to say he's a top bloke, really nice fella, and secondly, I nearly drove into his car in the club car park, but I didn't. Okay, I didn't. So I want to make that clear and on the record. I did not drive into his car at all. It was just, a near thing.
Well,
welcome to Wrexham.
A quick one on him really is how devastated all the Carlisle's fans seem to be in their League Two club. So for us to sign a player of that quality, probably should be aiming for League One again, like Paul Mullen. It's exciting times at the Racecourse, isn't it?
Massively so, massively so. And then as well in other branches as well. I mean, I've been in the Racecourse quite a bit this week. The amount of work going in, really good work going on inside the club, things that we'll see later on. And then of course we had the women's match, a historic match, and fans as a result back in the ground. It was great. Yeah,
it was great. And then, but first, after that, we're going to talk about our fixture change.
I'm Jake Hyde, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, unfortunately, as probably most of you know by now, it was announced a good couple of hours ago from the 6 o'clock start opening of this Dragonheart.
Quick feet that was.
The Oval game's been cancelled due to COVID, which is a crying shame. The first game isn't at the Racecourse this season, but we move on.
Absolutely. I mean, firstly, of course, let's hope they're all fine anyway. Secondly, yes, to have that sort of build-up coming towards it, it felt like a real punch in the guts when it then appeared we had no match. But it has been, to be fair, we've acted very quickly, and we've got Solihull away instead. And I think it's good not to start the season with a blank weekend. It also means that the Oval game, when it's rearranged, we won't have a restricted capacity. So that's good for those people who got season tickets in the Wrexham stand. Tough game to start the season with, mind.
Yeah, they were a good side. They were quite a good side last season as well. They beat us away from home, didn't they?
1-0 in the league, 4-0 in the FA Cup. So
so it's well, hopefully I'm not looking to them yet. Hopefully there'll be a preview podcast plus show hosted by Mark and myself. So we'll be looking into them more in detail. But yeah, we're both probably going to be very different sides this season, aren't we?
Well, absolutely right. But their intention, certainly, they finish the season well. Their intention will be to build on that. So it's a tough start. But we're a tough start. Nobody will want to play us. Maybe now's the time to play us before we've gelled fully. But I'm just glad we've got a game. The first weekend of the season, I think, to have all this build up and then nothing would be a real shame. It knocks back our first home game, but can't be helped.
It can't be helped, and we have a better chance to have. It's only one game without the full capacity, then, isn't it?
Yes,
so
that's right.
It probably works out reasonably well that the first game's an away game, really. So
the other thing, looking at it, from my eyes, is that game at Solihull was supposed to be Good Friday. So hopefully, at the run-in, we're tilting for promotion, and we won't have to do the condensed Easter weekends programme. We won't be trying to squeeze two games into a couple. I haven't got the fixtures to hand. I'm not sure exactly who we had then, but we really will only have one game then in that case. So that's good.
Hopefully, but you got to remember COVID restrictions, and I think there's going to be a lot of, like last season, a lot of fixture congestion. A lot of times where we won't be playing for a while because of COVID. So we'll see on that regard.
But then on that point as well, we managed to rearrange a game rather than already falling a game behind before we even started. So
luckily, and that is good news. So it's going to be a historic season for the men's, just like it has been for the women's. They played their first game in a long time at the Racecourse.
Hi guys, I'm Dominic Vose, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, there was fans at the Racecourse last Sunday for the first time in seems to be like a decade, but it was a great occasion. Women's first game at the Racecourse for a long time. Is it ever? Yeah,
it's certainly in this iteration.
So, and they had an excellent performance as well.
Yeah, totally. They were very impressive, weren't they?
Yeah.
Really dominated the game. It's interesting. I mean, the history of women's football, the Racecourse, is genuinely long and fascinating, but it isn't a Wrexham. There wasn't a Wrexham team as such. I'll put a link in the description. There's a really good article on women's football on the Racecourse, which came out of absolutely nowhere, and we found it about 6 months ago. It's a brilliant read. But anyway, but yeah, an actual Wrexham AFC team has never played there before, so that was a piece of history in itself. And it was impressive, considering that's a team that they lost to earlier in pre-season. You wouldn't have thought so looking at it, because it was a bit of a hiding, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, and it looked quite easy for a lot of the period of the game. And I've got to say, Rosie Hughes, the men's have Paul Mullen, the women's have Rosie Hughes. She looks really good, doesn't she?
She's terrifying, wasn't she? She was quick. She liked getting down the right channel, pulling balls back in for other players as well. But you could see it was a sort of Gary Bennett situation. She just lived for goals, and she just wanted to get into fantastic positions and pull the trigger. Ollie Williams said in the commentary that she liked one-on-ones and beating the keeper. And yeah, that last goal she scored, where she dumped the keeper on her backside, walked around her. But it's great to see strikers who are hungry for goals and banging form. Just they're exciting to watch, aren't they? And she just expected everything she hit to go in. It was really good to watch.
100%. She had some pace on her as well.
Yeah.
She played excellent. And is there anyone else that caught your eye in that game?
Quite a few, actually. So I'll have to be a bit. And before I say this, I've got to say apologies to anyone I might miss out, because I thought there were a lot of players that I looked at. I mean, as I started watching it, I started going, right, this player looks very good, this player's standing out, and then you notice other players. And as time went on, you start thinking, ooh, seems to be a good level up across the squad. I mean, looking at the young players, and I'm biased because, you know, the school that we work in, they are ex-pupils of, but I'm going to say straight off that Phoebe Rintoul at the back and Kim Dutton in midfield, they're young and they've got quality, and Kim Dutton is a proper sort of foot on the ball playmaker, really good accurate passer with the right foot, calm under pressure. I was so impressed with the way that she used the ball. When you've got a player who can feed the ball forwards like that and a striker who's hungry for goals, you've got a good combination. And then Phoebe Rintoul at the back. Well, she actually, in the course of one match, I mean, talk about versatile, played right back, left back and centre back, but she also, you could just see that technical side to her game with both of those players. That she was really comfortable on the ball, coming forwards, hard tackler, playing at full back, and then at centre back really wanted to come forwards and join in with play, was confident to pass it out from the back. And I just thought, that's testimony to the way football, men's, women's, all football has altered at youth level more and more. Because you see men's game as well, don't you, more technical young players coming through, and that was a real example of that. I thought they both looked extremely good. Lauren Rees is a proper old-fashioned number 10, not old-fashioned, no offence. She's proper, sort of player who has. I love it in Spain. They talk about the pausa, the pause. The number 10 who plays the killer ball just creates that pause in the game to look around and see. And she again was feeding good balls to the strikers, and like the look of her. Sharp at the back was sharp at the back, appropriately enough, big and strong, and able to play with both feet. I was really impressed with that. Abby Hughes, the captain.
Yeah, Abby Hughes looked really good until she went off.
Yeah, real leadership.
Yeah,
and she's putting off a knee operation, isn't she, to play in that game, and it's a shame she couldn't last the course, but
she had real quality, didn't she? To be fair, I was really impressed with her.
And you really felt that, like I say, she's sorry to repeat myself, but leading.
Yeah.
There was a real sense of being at the centre of everything. And then, Mackenzie, Pritchard, good technical players as well, who could beat players. They were great. Davis could tackle like anything. Both Davises, in fact, Amy and Jodie. I just thought it was good to watch. It was great. I really liked the way that they shaped up. I liked the way they moved the ball around. I think in general, anyway, I think often women's football is more interesting in terms of the technicality of it,
Yeah.
and there's less scope to be a sort of thumper up in the mixer approach to football, you know, and that's makes it a much better spectacle. Players are trying to get the ball down, looking to move it.
This is what I quite like. Let's be fair, you know, the Wrexham's women team is very, very early stage, and it's the football's going to be a little bit raw, isn't it, at times?
Naturally,
but what I really liked about it, and I've got to be quite honest now, it's not because for any particular reason, I've not really sat down and really watched many women's games in my time of watching football. I was very, very impressed. They got the ball down, they passed nicely. It wasn't just this hoof up, which you see at, say, at a similar level to a men's game, where they just get the big bloke up front and they just hoof it up, and hopefully you can flick it on, and bit more route one. It was proper passing football by both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a necessity to get the ball down and use it, and that makes it more, I think, in a lot of ways interesting to watch, and tactically interesting to watch as well.
Yeah,
we had some good pace, Sands and Williams in the flanks as well, of taking people on, trying to get into dangerous positions. And you can't really judge the goalies that much, because they didn't have that much to do. They both looked solid. We'll be talking to Kat Jones in a little bit, and I forgot to mention to her the ball she played out to her right back with the outside of her foot with a bit of proper swaz on it. I really enjoyed that, and I forgot to ask her about it. I'm gutted because it was class. But no, I really enjoyed it. It was impressive. It's hard to judge, of course, what level they'll come into, because it's a new setup, it's a new league.
I'm sure Northop will be in their league, won't they, for next season?
I'm genuinely not sure.
I think they will be. So, but if they are not, I'm sorry I'm wrong. We'll need to get someone from the women's team on the podcast, won't we, to, you know, on the managers or something, to clarify. But I'm pretty sure Northop will be in. I think I've heard that Northop will be in the same league. And if that's the case, and if they play like that again, then I'm not worried for the women's team this season at all.
Amazingly, a league which, even though it's kicking off pretty soon, has got no name yet.
Wow.
So the marketing boys, they're announcing it next week apparently, but the marketing boys haven't sorted it out. I'm going to throw in a suggestion for a name, which is the 80 Years Too Late League. But,
well, it's a shame with many women's sports that it's not being put on the same pedestal as the men's game, really, and I think it's just been lazy on, you know, the big guys from the top. It starts from the top down. It's the top of the upper echelon of sport is being popular from the top. It trickles down, and then, you know, the bottom feeders, a bit like, you know, where Wrexham are at the moment, it improves that as well. You know, I look at the UFC and they put women's fights on top of the bills. They have superstars. They really promote them. And women's MMA is thriving. Yes, it's a little bit more raw than the men's. It's not as quite. It's a lot more new than what the men's game is. But they're invested in superstars, and I think that's what football should have done years ago.
Well, as I say to Kat as well, I mean, women's football in many ways is still a sport in development, perhaps. And I don't want to be misinterpreted in saying that, but for so long it was so massively underfunded and neglected, that it is almost like a new sport. It's got past its initial phase, the sort of early stages of massive mismatches and things like that, and it's now getting to a point where it's starting to develop much more fully. Whereas I think I'd sort of look at, say, men's football as a fully developed sport. You know, things change within it, but it has reached a sort of a level, a sort of organisation that, you know, things can alter, but it'll stay the same sort of quality, if you see what I mean. Talking ourselves in circles here.
So, how do you think we change that in the women's game? How do you think we narrow the gap a little bit?
Money and time, I think. I mean, let's be frank here. For all the good intentions that many people have, it's the fact that money started being put into women's football, which has allowed it to develop like this. And hopefully that then trickles down, and the addition of time means that, you know, it will go from what I said, like a developing sport, if you will, into that finished sport. I'm not trying to be patronising and saying developing, but, you know, you're now getting more and more strong teams who are able to compete with each other. That's going deeper and deeper and deeper. I know I was flippantly saying the 80 Years Too Late League, but there is now more competition and more possibility to actually get it going. I remember watching, well, say, a good 20 years ago this would be, watching women's boxing, and I used to be quite frightened at watching some of them, because the mismatches were enormous,
Yeah.
and it felt a little dangerous because there weren't enough
Investment,
opponents. Now, that's not the case, and that's something that has to happen with every sport.
Yeah.
You know, I don't watch basketball, I've got to admit, but I used to remember when Channel 4 first started, on Monday nights they would actually have a live final quarter of a British basketball game, and it was like watching football. Usually shot attacks didn't end in a basket.
Yeah.
You know, now surely it's better than that, but
Yeah.
it was very low scoring. So yeah, I just think it's time and that money coming in, because it was BT covering the Women's Premier League, which has kick-started more in Britain, because Britain was behind other countries.
Yeah.
I mean, you get clubs like in Spain, for example, the top Spanish teams play in the home stadia and get big crowds for big matches. The Barcelona women's team currently are just phenomenal. They're unbeaten in Spain. They won the Champions League, and they're just terrifying.
Yeah.
But there is much more of a sense in Spain of taking it seriously. But there's still obstacles to fight, and there's still stupid attitudes to beat in every area. And to give an example of how I've praised Spain, have you seen the thing about the Real Madrid women's team?
No.
That although Spain has generally in the media had a much more mature approach to women's football than in Britain historically, when the Spanish league was being set up a couple of years ago, there was no Real Madrid women's team. They copped a bit of flack for that. People saying, well, you know, we're a multi-sport club, we need to have a team at the top of the Spanish game. And so they bought a team, basically, and turned them into Real Madrid. FC Tacos de Alta, which is high heel FC. So, you know, not everyone's quite on the same page. That's a bit of a dubious name for a team. But, you know, well, they're not called that anymore, I suppose. They're called Real Madrid then. Yeah.
Well, there's teams in England who are doing really well. I really like Chelsea's manager. I keep on forgetting her name. She did the punditry, and she's doing an excellent job. Chelsea, City are plowing a lot of money into the women's game as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's great to hear that it's slowly starting to get bigger, and I'd like to see Wrexham become a player in that regard. And what do you think? What else do you think they could do to make it bigger in Wrexham?
I think at the moment, stick with what we're doing. I mean, I think every bit of publicity and outward-facing image is showing that this is a really well-run setup. We know we've had a lot of good people like Gemma Owen in there from the start, and it's building and it's building. The website gives the same priority to women's team signings and women's team's news as the men's, which is as it should be. I know it's not practical, and I know their home ground is Colliers for now, but it would be brilliant if they could play on Racecourse regularly as their home ground. But it's just things like that. It's just building up and building up.
Maybe when there's a gap in the schedule where you can have let's have a women's league game at the home ground, and season ticket holders can get in for free.
That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it?
You know, and get that real coverage out, and people might think, you know what, I quite like this, because I thought the atmosphere at women's games is a lot less feisty. It's a lot more relaxed, and yeah, why not? Why not do that sort of thing? I think that would be a great idea.
Absolutely, but I do think as well we are doing it the right way here.
Yeah.
It's great. I think the new ownership has made a very early statement of intent in that respect by putting that 50k investment into the team, and it's good that we're Welsh.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to crawl all the way up to the English Premier League. We're one promotion away from top level of Welsh football.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of us having a team. You know, let's be honest, success brings people in. That'll get people interested as well. If Wrexham are actually a top level team in
Champions
something.
League.
I mentioned that to Cat Jones actually, but bring back the European nights.
Yeah.
That'd be something, wouldn't it?
You could have the likes of Alex Morgan playing at the Racecourse, who's a huge star. So I really like that idea. And I wish the women's team all the best in the future, and we will be covering the big games that we can see, really, I hope, in the future of Dragonheart. So more on the women's team now. We've got the keeper, Cat Jones.
I'm Reece Johnson, and you're listening to the Dragonheart radio show.
Oh, well, Kat, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
I've got to say, first things first, as a Wrexham fan, how does it feel to know that you've now done something that Pele never did? You won at the Racecourse.
It's just unbelievable. It's one of them things that we never ever thought would happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we started with the football team 3 years ago, and then Sunday we played on the Racecourse. It's just surreal. And for me, it's a dream come true. It's an absolute dream come true. It's something that I've dreamed of since I was a child. It's something that my family have dreamed of. And yeah, Sunday was just an unbelievable experience. And something that will go down in history, hopefully.
Well, I mean, it's already historic, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
First women's game there. May there be many more.
Yeah.
And also first game for a year and a half with fans in there as well, which makes a difference, doesn't it? You know, I know it'd be great to have a capacity crowd in there for you, but certainly, even though we had to limit the numbers, I think that added something, didn't it? I think.
To be honest, when we play at Collier's, normally we don't get we get fans, but not on the level that we had on Sunday. So the dynamic of the game straight away completely changed because you know you've got this whole crowd behind you, they're spurring you on, clapping, cheering, and it's just unreal. Yeah. Unreal. It's something that we wish to do again in the very near future. Fingers crossed.
Well, I was thinking I sadly couldn't get to the game, but I've watched it, and that save that you made near the end, low down to your left. It made me think there's not many people in the world who will ever just get spontaneously cheered and applauded for something they do. You know, if you just walk down the street, you'll never experience that. It just feels good to feel a big number of people just saying, yeah, well done, nice work.
We were saying at training on Monday, we've talked to the girls about the experience on Sunday. I said it was so surreal. Like, as soon as one of the strikers got the ball into the final third, the crowd just went mad. They were like, whoa, go on, go on, go on. It was just mental. And it's something that you know, everybody should experience as a footballer. And it was just really good to experience that.
And it must have been weird for you. I'm putting your fans hat on now as well. Playing in front of the cop with no barriers on it. It must have looked weird. You know what I mean? To come out and you're at that end. And well, this is what I've always seen, but it's not. It's different. It's
not there. Yeah. And you don't understand like the scale of it until you actually stand on that pitch in front of it and you look around and you're like, this is... One, it's weird there's no barriers there. Yeah. And two, the size of it, it's just massive.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
And then little things as well, like, I'm going to show my age then. I just realised one of the first time, no, you know what? I'm not even going to say it. It's that stupid. I'm moving on. I embarrass myself enough in public without doing one when I know beforehand I'm going to embarrass myself. If I can ask you about you, I mean, do you, if you don't mind me asking, when did you start following Wrexham?
To be honest, I've followed them for quite a while, but more so in recent years. Since playing for the club, I'm more of a supporter because I think, you know, it's important. It's important to back the men's team. But my family are hardcore Wrexham fans. They have been since childhood. And so it was kind of pushed on me quite a lot during my childhood. And I kind of got a break from football then for a few years during my teenage years. But now, I absolutely love going to the games. I love, you know, following the commentary on Twitter, everything. Absolutely love it.
I mean, that's fantastic. And I think shows something important that we're now getting at the club. The sense of we are all in it together. To be fair, I think the trust did that as well. But, you know, now we've got the sort of the wherewithal, the money, the organisation to really put that into effect. And, you know, like you say, the fact that the women's teams, the men's teams, you're all part of the same club. You're all backing each other is, I think, an important thing we've got going on now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when we first started, you know, there was kind of a divide between the men's team and the women's team. But that divide has become less as time's gone on. And obviously now we're pushing, we are one club. We are going to be on the same level as the men's team. You know, we've got Ryan Reynolds tweeting our stuff. We've got Ryan Reynolds putting our players on Instagram stories, and just as he does with the men's team. And it just feels like we're all part of the one team, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
crazy, isn't it, really?
It's just,
yeah.
I actually put in our group chat the other day, I don't think I'll ever get used to Ryan Reynolds retweeting our stuff and liking our stuff on Instagram. It's just absolutely surreal.
Oh, come on. You know he's only coming over to meet you.
Oh, I wish.
Oh, I mean, so it's fantastic to achieve that. And like you say, that the way the women's team is getting treated much more on the sort of level it deserves to. I mean, yeah. I've got to ask the question, how far do you think the women's team can go? You know, I mean, obviously there's going to be more backing now, you know, and you know, what would be the ambition, do you think?
We want to get to the Welsh Prem, and we want to get there as soon as possible. And it's possible. It is possible. Obviously, we've got a new manager now, Marie. You know, she came to the game on Sunday and training on Monday, and you know, she just believes in us. She believes in us 100%. You know, she's got knowledge, she's got skills to guide us. Obviously, we've got Stephen Dale as well as the assistant manager. He's full of knowledge, and they just want what everybody wants, which is the end goal, which is to get to the Welsh Prem. And hopefully, we can do it soon.
Well, it would be fantastic to achieve that, wouldn't it?
It would be amazing, absolutely amazing. I
just want to see European nights back at the racecourse, you see.
Yeah,
there's a challenge.
There's a challenge indeed, yeah.
That would be quite something, wouldn't it? Goodness me. It's for me, if you forgive me for going on like an old man here, but because I can't go on any other way. That's what I am.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for agreeing. Don't
worry, I get it all the time. I'm the most, well, apart from one of the players we've signed, I'm the most senior player in our team, but I get it all the time.
Yeah, I think you've still got a number of years on me, to be honest with you. But I mean, I'm a teacher, and I'm very pleased, although it's an obscure thing, that myself and one other teacher at the school I was at, we started the first ever girls' team in Wrexham, into a school team, which we were very proud of. It was a complete disaster.
Complete disaster.
Well, on two grounds. One, because there was no one else, so we couldn't play any games. Obviously, this was just the two of us saying, "Let's do it." It wasn't part of some scheme where other schools joined in. So we existed for 2 years without ever playing, and then we finally convinced the school to let us go to a tournament in Rill.
Yeah.
A, we got battered, and B, we then found out that one of our players, despite being in fifth year by then, had a sort of rare medical condition that the parents had never told the school, and we thought she'd died, and the paramedics thought she'd died. She hadn't, but it kind of killed the team. I'm going to be honest with you. She was fine. She was also a Chester fan, the only Chester supporting pupil I've ever taught that are openly Chester supporting. But it's just great for me, being selfish here, saying that was like, that would have been, late 90s. And then, I mean, really, a girls' team was not a thing. Like I said, we had to travel to Rome to find a game. And it wasn't taken at all seriously. And I can tell you, on television, women's football was treated as a bit of, well, firstly, was never on, but if they did show something, it would be to laugh at players, really. Whereas now, to take that school, we've got girls' football, obviously, they're just going on as a matter of course. Nobody asks the question, should girls play or not? We've got Gemma Owen coming in regularly to do sessions as well. She does great work all around Wrexham, of course. And we've finally got to a point where women's football is being covered on proper pop-up sports media and really taken seriously, where your coaches have got UEFA badges rather than being some schlub like me. It's a wonderful, it's great to see. I mean, I don't understand patronising, because it's just great to see women's football treated as it always should have been, to me.
Yeah, like when I was growing up, I started playing football from the age of 8, and I was in a boys' team. And I was the only girl that was in a boys' team. That, there wasn't any women's teams. But then, really, just played for Penikai boys' team in goal with a bunch of boys. Yeah. But as time's gone on, obviously things are progressing, which they should do. But even going back when we first started, again, in 2018, we did have some derogative comments on, you know, why should women be playing football and, you know, get them back on the farmers field playing football. We did have that. However, that has gone less and less and less. And now the buzz around female football is incredible. Absolutely incredible. Like, you know, you've got female teams in the Olympics, for instance. You know, you've got Euros, you've got all sorts, and it's just nice to see the generation that the generation of women playing and women playing football now are going to get the support that they deserve.
Yeah. I mean, I can't help thinking, you know, you've got a lot of very young players in that team.
Yeah, we are.
I know because I taught two of them a couple of years ago. You know? And you know, what an exciting time as well for them to come into the game, if you like, because everything is just mushrooming so much, isn't it? And the club as well is just overall.
It just makes me proud, really. It just makes me proud. Like, I went to my little brother, was just like, plays for Pickfield. He's only 6, and he had his first competitive game the other day, and there was a girl on the opposite team, and I just felt so proud. Yeah. Like, wow. Good on you getting stuck in, you know, and getting rid of the stigma that comes with women's football. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it's. I feel a bit silly saying this, but it's almost an educational thing. You said about people sending abusive messages before, and sadly there are knuckle draggers out there, and I think I'm being kind in calling them that. Yeah. But it's almost an education thing that some people won't catch up with reality. Will always be like that. That's their problem. Yeah. But
their problem. Yeah.
A lot of people who might start out for whatever reason like that will learn and will see positive things. And like you're saying about the women's team, like you're saying about that girl you saw playing in that match, it's all part of that process of just, well, waking people up to realising this is how normality should be, you know? Yeah.
And I can quite honestly say that young girl was the best player on their team. she really was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I can assure you.
There's so many talented female football players. It's just so nice to see. So nice to see, and it's just such an exciting time to be involved with the football club and going forward.
Well, I've got to be honest and say again, in my old days, before I got too heavy and lazy to coach football teams at school, I used to pick Lucy Scott, who was part of the media team and also is in charge at Colliers Park now. I had her in my boys' team as well. And I can assure you she was a level above everyone else. Bless them. They were nice lads, but the others couldn't find the backsides of both hands. They were, which is probably why nobody wanted to be goalkeeper, of course. But
it's not always the favourite position, is it?
That's true. But I was a goalie as well, so don't you worry. I loved it. But I didn't mind taking a kick in the head, and I think that's the most fun part of goalkeeping.
I've had many kicks in the head, in the face, and everywhere. It doesn't bother me.
It's the best part of it.
Part and parcel of being a goalkeeper.
That and getting muddy.
Yeah. I love that muddy.
No question. So thinking about the team going forwards, I mean, like I say, hopefully we'll be successful as a club in raising the profile, you know, in terms of our media team coverage of the team. What sort of should I say? Which players do you reckon we should keep an eye out for? Or is that unfair? Is that putting you on the spot and then you'll get grief?
Well, to be honest, there's players like core players that have been there since it started. But there's been some absolutely amazing signings this season. You know, look at Rosie Hughes, for instance. Whacked 4 goals in the Racecourse. You know, we've got a goalkeeper now who's going on board. I've been the only goalkeeper pretty much since the start, and now we've got Del Morgan who's come aboard, who's absolutely fantastic. You've got Lauren Rees. Lauren Rees has scored 10 goals so far in pre-season. The list is just endless. And I know there's like, I don't want to pick like key players. I know what that I have. However, everybody in our team brings something to our team. Which is the reason why they're in our team. And, you know, from defence, midfield to strikers to goalkeepers, we all bring something different. And as a team, you know, we're looking to get the results, the positive results and work as hard as we can and get as far as we can.
Yeah. Is Rosie Hughes nuts?
Nuts.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say nuts. She just loves it. She just loves scoring goals. It's great.
That was just my feeling from watching the highlights. And
Oh,
afterwards, so they're celebrating way after the game had finished. And I thought, she's nuts.
She just loves it.
Fair
She
play.
just absolutely loves it.
I'll have to
I
get
mean, I haven't known Rosie very long.
Yeah.
But she just absolutely loves what she does. She, you know, and we're about coming onto our team and said, you know, how do you feel? And she said, Wrexham's the best team to be at. She said, and it's just phenomenal what's going on. But she used to play for Denby, and we lost against Denby 1-0, and she pipped the goal past me that beat us. And I'll never forget that. But never mind. So onwards and upwards now, teammates.
She'll play for that in training next week, won't she? Oh, fantastic. I was thinking as well, and you were talking about how the women's game is getting to the recognition it ought to have had all along.
Yeah.
In a strange way, it almost feels like that. It feels like when men's football was developing in popularity. I mean, I keep saying to people this, and I'll have to keep saying it because I'm going to be working on it for years. When I'm writing a history of the club, and you know, you speak to players who played back in the 50s or the 40s, and they are not full-time footballers. You know, footballers who work down the mines, do a shift down the mines, come out Saturday morning, clean themselves down, get to the game and play the match. Now you work, you know,
yes, full-time,
in so many ways, women's football sort of on that journey, perhaps, of you have to fit in work with the sport as well. I mean, how difficult is that? Or is it just something you just like to do anyway?
Well, prior to this season commencing, we had to commit 2 days a week to football. So you'd have your game on Sunday and training on Monday.
Yeah.
However, they're looking in this season, it's obviously going to be a lot more serious, and it's going to be 4 sessions a week. So it's going to be a fitness session, an analyst session, training session, and a game on a Sunday. But, I mean, it's hard to juggle it when you work full time. However, if you're committed to that team, you'll do it.
Yeah.
You'll find the time to do it. Because it's not, for me, it's not just a hobby. It's like my passion. It's my stress reliever. It's everything. I just love it. And, you know, I am willing to commit to whatever time they need. And obviously time outside of that as well, you know, with social media and interviews like with yourself and stuff. And it's hard work to juggle, but it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it in the end.
Well, I think that's exactly the attitude that the club wants and needs going forwards in every different aspect of it. I think I'm pleased to say this is one of those times when it's true when we all say we are one team, because there's a lot of different aspects and good work going on at the club, not just in terms of football. And the fact that we all can pull together and support each other means it's a hell of an exciting time to be at the club, isn't it? Especially for fans like us.
It really is. It really is. Like I say, I never ever thought that anything like this would happen to Wrexham Football Club. You know, we're a small town in North Wales, and then Hollywood stars buy our club. It's just, you couldn't write it. You couldn't write it.
It is incredible, isn't it? So, like
it's
I say,
absolutely incredible.
You've got more wins at the Racecourse than Pele, Maradona, Cruyff added together. I mean, okay, maybe they never played there, but
it's an achievement. It's an achievement.
You got the same number as Kenny Dalglish. So that's any consolation. And I think more than Keegan. I'm pretty sure Kevin Keegan played at Wrexham when I was a kid, and Wales beat him. So you've already got a bit of tasty record there. Well done, you.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I just say, an absolute honour and pleasure to chat to you, and we'll have to keep.
Well, thank you very much for asking.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
This is Sean Brisley. This is Dragonheart.
Well, the men were in action too last Saturday. Interesting tie against Spennymoor. I think a lot of people are rating they could go up from National League North next season. They seem like a good side. I think I personally have not watched the highlights or anything. I've been very busy last couple of weeks, but yeah, the reaction from it seems a bit drastic in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when you're battering everybody and then you draw, people will feel it's a step down, but certainly nothing to get worried about at all. I mean, if we're going to get excited about friendlies, and I'm there saying, oh, don't get excited too much by friendlies, by the same token, I've got to say, don't get too worried if a friendly doesn't go our way. But we should have won it. If we want to break it down into that, ignore that it's a friendly, we should have won it. And it was careless and unfortunate the way it turned into a draw. But, you know, if it was a competitive match, I think we'd have been better at closing it out.
Yeah, but you know, the type. I think this is our toughest test so far, wasn't it? Because I won't say toughest, maybe most realistic, because Spennymoor is going to be the type of team we're going to be playing next season, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I thought it looked decent, and we had to work throughout the game rather than just take control of it. But that's okay, that's fine. And remember, the squad's not completed yet. There are definite gaps still. I mean, we played one of the trialists, the orange-booted trialist, as I've ended up calling him, at centre-back. That is not his position, or certainly not his regular position. He did okay, he did fine. In fact, his ability to pass out from the back led to our second goal, and also led to some other good football. But, you know, that's not a full-strength defence, so we may have been able to repel them better. I mean, just look through what happened in the game. It's that Luke Young scores a glorious free kick. I mean, that is a fabulous free kick. I just love that, because it's just, if anyone tries to say, you know, don't bother with scouting, just turn up, lads, just show them that goal. Luke Young's got a fabulous strike from a dead ball or a rolling ball from distance. They get a free kick about 30 yards out. They decide he's going to cross it, and they stick a one-man wall. And it's just like, yeah, well done. You don't know what he can do you? And you can just see Luke Young standing there thinking, oh, if you're only got one man there, I'll just shoot. Fair enough. And he just slams it. I mean, it's a great strike.
That's brilliant, isn't it? But I mean, it's one thing I was really impressed with Wrexham last year was the plethora of set piece takers that we have, and those players have stayed at the club, haven't they, for this season, really. So Jordan Davis, Jamie Record, Cameron Green, and Luke Young, of course. Four great free set piece takers who can take very different types of free kicks and corners. So that's another exciting prospect for next season as well.
Oh, no doubt. It is great, that, isn't it? And then it's 1-0 at half time. Yeah, it was an even game, really, but it was a tough away game. Second half, we go 2-0 up through Hyde, and some very alert play by Green, who follows the ball on into the box and pulls it back for Hyde. Hyde continuing to look like a penalty area between the posts poacher, which is a very useful thing to have, I think, especially when Mullen is causing mischief all over the place. Having a bloke who's constantly waiting for those scraps and passes to come into the finishing zone is a great thing to have, so that's a good thing as well. Then Spennymoor came back into it. They scored from I've got to say, a beautifully worked throwing routine. It was brilliant, 3 of them right by the corner flag, and it was all one-touch football. So it was superb to set themselves up and put them in the box. But having said that, we were very unlucky. The strikers looked left side of the box, about 10 yards out, very wide. It's not an angle he really fancies to score from that often, and it took a big deflection. Dibble had no chance. You know, so what's the XG on that shot? Very low, I'd imagine, and we were a bit unlucky with that. No, don't get me wrong. You know, he took the shot, and luck is part of football. And then the second one, I know Dibble's taking a bit of stick over it. I'm not that bothered by it. I mean, he tries to pass it out from the back to his fullback, but doesn't get the Cat Jones swaz that I was mentioning earlier, and gives it to a Spennymoor player. They break forwards. He actually makes a very good save one-on-one, but they score a rebound. Okay, yeah, that's down to his pass. But if that's how we're going to play, you've got to accept that that will occasionally happen. And so we mustn't panic about it.
Well, let's iron out the mistakes now,
well,
rather than when coming into
absolutely.
the season. You know, it's a friendly against Spennymoor. There's no point in any sleep over it.
Exactly.
This is the whole point of friendly games, practice games. You're getting match fitness, aren't you? So I'm not too worried, to be fair. It's the same on Saturday when we play Curzon Ashton. If we lose 2-0, it's not the end of the world. I'd rather them make the mistakes now than against Solihull next week.
Yeah, the measure of a good pre-season is how well you start the season, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not how well you do in those pre-season games, although it is great to see teams looking fluid like we have been doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. Luke Young was excellent. Really, really played well. And, well, if you haven't seen the highlights, you've got to have a look at the second half shot he has, which again would have, I think it was 2-1 at the time, would have won the match. It is fabulous. He's further out than usual.
Right.
And I don't know, I guess he just, does he spot the keepers off his line, or does he just think, he's not that far off his line, or does he just think, this is sitting up for me? But he nails it from an absolute mile out. It's heading under the bar, about a yard in from the corner, and then looks to curve late into the corner, and the keeper makes the most fabulous full stretch tip over. I mean, it's a wonderful save.
Yeah.
And I saw some people have picked up on social media that after the Fleetwood game, I interviewed Luke and jokingly said that pre-season goals count towards goal of the season. And people have seen that goal and said, oh look, he took it seriously. Tell you what, if that long range shot had gone in, we possibly would. I would genuinely think, oh well, it was only a joke, but maybe we'll have to do something here. Because honestly, it is, if that had gone in, that would have been an absolutely phenomenal goal. You've got to see it.
I will have to watch it. I need to get the 5-10 minutes to watch the highlights. I've been meaning to, but I've just been really busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, after watching what you've watched, what was your final thoughts then? Final few lines.
Oh gosh, the other thing I was worried that Brisley got hurt. I didn't like the look of that.
Right.
Especially as centre back is the area we're thinnest at the moment. I know we'll address that. I didn't like the look of that, though, the way he went in at first and then the way he came back on and had to go straight off again, it bothered me a little bit. But yeah, I mean, like you said, pre-season's all about how well you start the season, and it's not about the results. It was a scrapping away draw against decent sides who were really up for it, and we haven't completed our squad, and we should have won it really. And I'd like to think that when the stakes are down and we've got all that rustiness out of us, that we probably would win that sort of game. So no, it was sound. It was perfectly sound.
A boxer doesn't knock out all his sparring partners, There's no point in knocking out all your sparring partners and coming to the actual fight day, you lose. Yeah. So, we're ironing out our mistakes now, and I'd rather that than making that mistake that you said about Spennymoor, first game of the season at Solihull.
Exactly.
We know not on what to do now.
Well, actually, I'd also say, just going back to that mistake as well, the little error. Yeah, there is an error, but I can't help thinking, look at it in terms of how we're looking to set out to play, and look at it in terms of how we're trying to create chances. We're looking to pass the ball out from the back. That's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to pass out from the back, draw players forwards to press us, and have players who are good enough to pass through that press, and then we can find space in midfield and we can hit them. If we let in 1, 2, 3 goals a season, they'll look awful, and the goalkeeper will be crucified, and people will go nuts. But if that allows us to play like we want to throughout 46 games of the season, we'll score more than 3 extra goals, if you will, from playing that way. And the classic example of this is, goodness me, what, about 10 years ago or something now, the Classico, where Victor Valdez is in goal for Barcelona and he gives the ball away. There's a back pass to him straight from the kick-off. He lets it roll across his goal line, tries to pass it out, gets it all wrong, and just gifts the ball to Real Madrid in the penalty area. They score after 20 seconds. And as you can imagine, that's a huge scandal. And straight away Guardiola's out after the match to say, I was very happy that he made that decision. He got the pass wrong, but he made the right decision to try and play that pass, because that's how we play football. We pass around teams, we draw them onto us, we pass through them, and if we don't do that, we lose. And I think they didn't win that game, I think. But, he said, no, I'll never criticise my goalkeeper for trying to make that pass. And I see it the same way, because as I said, the trialist started off our second goal by being under a lot of pressure on the edge of the area, the sort of thing where people are all shouting, kick it out, kick it out. And he kept his head, and he slid the ball through to a player in midfield, bypassed 4 Spennymoor players who were pressing, and then we got straight up the pitch, attacked with pace and scored. So, you know, if we're not going to play out from the back, Dibble doesn't make that mistake, and we don't let that goal in. But by the same token, Trialist never plays that pass, and we never score our goal either. So it's the style we've chosen to play, and I say don't criticise goalies for it if they've been told to do it.
Or maybe Pep Guardiola had a spot fixing.
Oh,
so maybe that's why he was happy.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, that press conference, if I remember correctly, he was wearing a monocle and a big shiny top hat, burning £20 notes.
Oh, brilliant. Anyway, next we're going to speak about, do we need any more signings?
I'm Jake Hyde, and this is Dragonheart.
We certainly do need some signings. We're weak in some areas, but it's just how urgently do we need them, Mark?
Yeah, I know everyone's getting very het up about the lack of movement, and yeah, that clearly the squad's not finished yet. I don't share the sort of urgency in a way. I'd rather we get the right players than rush into just getting any players.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just the nature of football fans, no matter what club. They just want it done right now. They want to get excited. We are getting closer to the start of the season, but still, we can still sign people after the first game. So I don't really think there's anything much to panic about. But we do need to start seeing movement sooner.
Oh yeah. The big thing for me. Oh, that's two issues really. One is that we are looking to buy quality players, and Parkinson, I'm sure I said this last week, said from the start, be patient. You know, you're asking a player who maybe wants to be playing in League One to drop down to the National League. They're not going to immediately say yes to that. They need to think about it, and I think he's right to say be patient. We've now seen Mullen make that move, we've now seen Hayden make that move, and surely that makes it more likely that other players like that will think, oh, okay, they're bringing some quality players in. Maybe that is a project I'll get behind, but they're not going to make that decision immediately. Yeah. The other thing that makes me not panic about this is the nature of the players we're bringing in or targeting. In the past, because we didn't have that sort of pull, we are looking for unemployed players, aren't we? So you look at players who, and there are some with us to be fair, but we've done people a favour. They're training with us. We're not really looking to sign them, but the fact is they haven't got a club, they haven't got a trial. But at least if they get a pre-season in with somebody, they're ready to roll, and they might be able to sort of step in and find a club when the season starts.
Chris Sang's a fine example of that, isn't he? So he's gone in, he's now playing for Ballon. Good luck to him.
Exactly right. Exactly.
So, yeah.
But the thing is, we're not... Normally, we would be shopping in that sort of market, and there's so many players being released in the summer. There's going to be a lot of players who are good players, but they've got no match fitness. And if you bring them in, they've missed out on their pre-season. So, yes, I accept that sort of signing would be a problem, but we're not looking for those anymore. We're poaching players out of League One. Yeah. So they've had their pre-season, they've done a nice League One pre-season, and then we're coming and pinching them. So, okay, they're not used to our team and our setup yet, but they're good players, so they should fit in, and they are fit. Yeah. They're not players who then will need to go through pre-season with us before being really fully up to speed. It's like you said, it didn't Sang and Goldo Mateo and Keanu Marsh-Brown do well for us last year, because essentially they were in that situation of really being out of match fitness. And Dior Angus was to a great extent as well, and they did very well considering that. But now if we're buying players from football league clubs, so I couldn't help laughing when I said that sentence, then we are buying them fit. They are ready. We're not buying surplus players. We're buying players who other clubs have got ready to play. So that doesn't worry me so much, really. Yeah,
and negotiations are going to be a lot more stringent, aren't they, with the League One players, because they'll have more high-flying agents, a lot more, and you've also got to convince them to come down, and you've got to pay the money, and maybe Wrexham don't want to pay that sort of money, and there's a lot. It's not just, the higher up you go in the Football League when you're dealing with Football League and the Premier League football in general, the higher up you go, the negotiations become a lot more tricky, don't they? You look at the Jack Grealish, for example. That wasn't done overnight, was it? That was done over months process, probably prior to the Euros, the Harry Kane situation. It's going on now, isn't it? The talks are going on now. So the higher of calibre of football we deal with, it's not just going to be as streamlined as maybe signing unemployed players.
Exactly, and also it's important that our negotiating stance allows us to send a message, I would say, because everyone knows we've got pulling power and money now at our level, and good money for lower levels of the Football League. Everyone knows that. Everyone will be expecting to bring, to push their prices up a bit, or push the wage demand up a little bit if they think that they can manage it against us. So we have to take a tough negotiating stance to send a message out to clubs. So, well, when you actually contact us, and we're not stupid. We're not going to throw, sort of extra sums of money, throw good money after bad. We are going to strike proper deals. It's not just we're rich, we'll just blow you out of the water, because we don't want to be run like that. And it's very clear that's what the owners want. As we said last week, the club to be able to be self-sufficient, not to be throwing money all over the place, and then when they leave, it goes pop.
And the club is looking self-sufficient. You look at the season ticket sales, and that's a massive attendance for National League, just season ticket holders alone.
Sponsorship deals.
The sponsorship deals, So we're a lot different to, I think, the other, sugar daddy clubs, shall we say. So, and
that's great for us, because whatever division we're in next year, we'll be under some form of financial fair play.
Yeah.
And it's not clear what form, whether it's Football League or National League, because neither have really managed to finalise it, but there'll be something like that. So the more money we're able to bring in, the better.
Yeah.
But I was trying to do a rough calculation the other day, and I think if you take into account season ticket sales, sponsorship monies, you're probably talking about a figure which is around 4 times what Keith's budget was last season. So, and that all that money doesn't go into the budget. I'm not being stupid, but in terms of however they decide to work financial fair play in whatever division we're in, the more money coming in for us, the better.
Yeah. So it's exciting times, isn't it? I think Wrexham fans, the Dragonheart message is keep cool and keep calm, because we've got people who know what they're doing in charge of the club, and I think we will make the signings in the areas where we need to.
We will buy hammers from the years. We just need to sort. Oh, I said too much.
Well, it's exciting times in the future, and it's also exciting times because the Premier League season is kicking off this weekend.
Is it?
Yeah.
You sure about?
Yeah.
Are you excited about the Premier League? Yeah. It's not another 3 years before we're excited about the Premier League.
This, as a Wrexham fan, excited about the Premier League. But if you're a Dragonheart guy, we have a fantasy league.
The guy is right.
I'm Liam McClendon, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, yes, we have a Dragonheart Fantasy Premier League. On the official Fantasy Premier League app, we're not doing any of the dodgy gambling stuff. So it's free to enter. Mark's going to post a code in the description.
Certainly have, yeah. It's already out there on social media.
It's already out there. We have 14...
At the moment we have 50 teams in it.
50 teams.
Whoa.
Which is a lot more successful than the Euros one. And the Euros one I didn't even join, so I can't blame you.
Hang on, it was very successful, the Euros one, because I won it.
Well, yeah.
That's all I measured success by.
Well, it's not going to be that way this time. I've read a few articles. I've looked online who to get, and I've found some cheap diamonds that I think will be worth a lot more later on in the season, so it's exciting times.
Cheap diamonds generally aren't diamonds.
They're cheap diamonds in the fantasy world, but yeah.
You've been buying sequins, you fool.
Ivan Toney's scoring 28 goals this season, and he's worth 4.5 million on Fantasy League. But, hello, everyone join. This is going to be out at 6 o'clock. Arsenal and Brentford kick off at 8 o'clock, so by the time this is announced, you've got 2 hours.
Hurry,
yeah, to listen. And this podcast's probably an hour long, so you've probably got an hour.
Yeah, listen to it first, quick.
Listen to it very quickly.
Go back in time to the person who was listening at the start of this.
Arsenal, Brentford, big game. I'm looking forward to that, Mark.
Well, yeah, because apparently you're going to have a striker scoring 5 goals in it.
Yeah, Ivan Toney's going to score 7 goals a game, hopefully, and that makes sure that... I win the fantasy league.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I got to say, I mean, firstly, I know I've given him credit to this before, but I feel remiss if I didn't again. Tim Lewis, well done. It was your idea to get the European one started. It was your idea to get this one started, and goodness me, how right you were. If you enjoy online fun, have a look at all the aggressive messages he's been sending on social media towards me. And indeed the name of his team in the Fantasy League, which is essentially just aimed at me, which is fair enough, because he appreciates that I will win this thing. And, you know, he's scared, and I understand that. It's fair enough. Well, but you guys need to put your money where your mouth is, even though, as Chay said, it's free, and try and beat me, because you won't. Because I'm just a fantasy league god. However,
we do have an announcement that if you win this fantasy league, you will be winning a gift of some sort. We haven't quite worked that out yet. And it'd be a bit of a cop out if one of us two won it, and we'd be lauding it out throughout the episode. But yes, it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be a nice trial run for in 4 years' time when Wrexham's in the fantasy league and we can pick Paul Mullen in our squad.
Exactly right. Yeah, we definitely get a prize. The reason we're not saying what the prize is not that we're being coy. It's because Chay had the idea for a prize literally as we started recording this, and in the space of 10 seconds we had two excellent ideas. So we reckon if we actually spend a bit of time thinking about this, we could come up with more good ideas.
Exactly, and looking at our budget, it's probably 3 things from Poundland. So
we double our budget.
Well, I'm willing to invest a little bit into this. So
I have to admit, I was thinking of entering a second team. I used to do this, and under the old rules, where it was just if you're a defender or a goalie, you just lose a point if you let a goal in.
Yeah.
I was going to try and finish bottom by picking players that would cost them points. And I was going to enter a team that I thought would finish bottom and call them Chester. However, I could actually, I still should, but it's more difficult to lose points now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you're like, I'll give you a fantasy league chat very briefly. I put Tim Krul in goal, even though Norwich are playing Liverpool, because my calculations are you'll get 2 points for playing the whole game.
Yeah.
You get a point for every 3 saves that you make. And so I'm thinking, well, okay, so if Liverpool win, say Liverpool put 3 goals past him, and they have 10 shots, and he saves 7, then he's got 2 points for playing, he's got another 2 points for the saves, and he'll lose 2 points, 3 points, so he'll still gain. What's going
to happen is Liverpool are going to score 6 goals and Tim Krul's going to get injured at the 89th minute and get subbed.
What's going to happen is that Norwich will probably win 1-0 and Krul will get all sorts of points for being man of the match. That's my prediction. Well, I've also been Mo Salah my captain, so I feel I've hedged my bets on this one.
And my prediction today is Brentford will beat Arsenal 2-1.
Ooh. Is that a Brentford?
I think it's at the Emirates, but that doesn't really make a difference anyway. It's a library anyway, isn't it?
Well, I think having heard that prediction, we now know that Chay won't win the fantasy league. So you see, you won't finish bottom, and the person who finishes bottom will have to sing Nessun Dorma naked on the roof of T-Pound. What's your singing voice like, Chay?
Terrible.
Even better.
Anyway, action back at the Racecourse, the season ticket holders on Saturday. Wrexham v Curzon Ashton, the Robbie Evans derby. Looking forward to that, man.
Massively. It'd be nice to actually be in the ground with fans around as well. You know, we were lucky enough to be in the ground last season, weren't we? But it's different with fans, isn't it?
It'd be my first game covering Wrexham with fans in. No, second game with a packed out stadium. It's going to be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. For hopefully Chester and their players, they've had a COVID outbreak, haven't they? So we wish best to them. That's why we've got the games. They were meant to be playing Curzon Ashton, so we wish best to them and their team in their recovery of COVID, because I know their manager had it quite badly, didn't he? So wish them all the best in recovery.
Absolutely. And well, we heard Cat Jones talking about how the crowd in the women's game lifted everybody. Well, we get a nice crowd in.
Yeah.
But this one, so that would really be a very positive occasion. Even though it's just a friendly, it'll be great to get back going again as normal.
Yeah. And I hope everyone's enjoyed the show. Please follow us on Twitter. Please follow us on Instagram. Please follow us on
Yes, we did.
Oh, we got
Instagram. Yeah, we got Instagram, we got Twitter.
TikTok have we got?
Yes, but there's only one thing on it. But yeah, I'll build.
We can both build. Yeah. We've got obviously follow Wrexham on YouTube and follow Wrexham on TikTok. Follow Wrexham on Instagram. Follow us all. Get plugged in. Yeah. I don't know what to say after that.
We love you guys.
Yeah.
Give us nice reviews.
Yeah. Or give us bad reviews. The more reviews, the more exposure. Yeah. So brilliant.
Yeah, that's true, but nice.
Enjoy us. Until next week.
Adios, muchachos.